I'll be going ahead and giving the community moment today. And when I asked Mike for time to give a community moment, I knew exactly what I was going to talk about. And that is a topic that I'm incredibly passionate about, mentorship. I sat down and said, okay, what do I want to talk about? Oh, the what's, ifs, when, where's, how's. I looked at that piece of paper for about 6 weeks. I was totally uninspired. I was not going to give you the perfect recipe on how to mentor, how to be mentored. But what I will do today instead is tell you a little bit about the time when I didn't use mentors, and then when I learned how to take advantage of mentors. As many of you know, I am an alien. I was growing up, youngest of 3, in a German family. Nobody in my family had ever gone to university. As a matter of fact, nobody in my family had ever even gotten the Abitur, the German high school diploma you need to go on to university. That means, in essence, that there was no discussion around what university was, how to get in, what to expect in the life, or in essence, anything, any framework around university or jobs that would be available afterwards. It was not part of my knowledge base at the time. I didn't really know. I knew I wanted to go study, but how to go about it, I didn't know. So as I was finishing high school, I had a friend whose sister had gone and done a year as an au pair in the United States. And 3 of my friends decided that's what they were going to do. Oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that as well. So that's how I, in essence, ended up in the United States as a year as an au pair, because that was just what I figured I could do, the framework, what I knew people were talking about, what I knew how to approach. It became pretty clear while I was here that I didn't want to go back, that I didn't want to study. And it was as difficult for me to figure out how to study in Germany as it was to figure it out in the United States. The only difference was here there were people who actually believed I was smart enough to go there. So I ended up going to St. Louis Community College at Merrimack. Not because I had done my research and knew that that was a great community college, but it was inexpensive. Seemed like a good idea, and I was incredibly lucky. I had great teachers, great classes, small classes, very engaged people there who helped me learn, who helped me achieve. And then I moved on. Okay, well, I needed to go to a 4-year school now. I kind of knew what I wanted to study. Biology, chemistry had always been a great interest of mine. So in St. Louis, of course, we have Washington University. Great school. I'd always wanted to go there. But they have a huge price tag. And I didn't know how to get in. And I didn't know whom to ask, how to figure it out. I didn't understand the whole concept about scholarships and all that kind of thing. Of course, being an international, I wasn't eligible for any grants by the government, right? Federal and financial aid, I wasn't eligible for. And I didn't ask the right questions. I didn't go and talk to the right people. So I ended up going to University of Missouri, St. Louis, because I had friends who had gone there, who could kind of help me along. More people were knowledgeable around that, and I ended up going there for 2 years. It was not the best experience of my life, but I made it through. After 2 years, well, okay, I want to go on to graduate school. So I applied to 5 or 6 different graduate schools. Again, I didn't have a really good framework around it. Again, I was doing something that nobody around me was doing, right? There was probably one teacher I could have asked. When I asked her to write me a letter of recommendation, she would happily agree to do so, and I probably could have sat with her, but I didn't know that it was okay to just sit with people and, draw from their knowledge base. If I didn't know, of course, that was a failure on my part, right? That was at least my belief system at the time. I handed her all the different schools I wanted to apply to, and she looked at me and went, "Do you realize these are all Tier 1 schools?" Sure, whatever that means. I didn't understand Tier 1 schools. I didn't understand your whole grading system, the whole percentiles and all of that. I mean, percentiles make a lot of sense, but I never come across that concept. We didn't use it in high school in Germany. There were a lot of just basic things that I missed. So at that time, it was like, okay, am I going to WashU or Baylor College of Medicine? Both excellent schools. Now let me tell you how I came about making the decision where to go. Obviously, I went to Baylor College of Medicine. That's how I ended up in Houston. I, of course, interviewed at both schools. Baylor flew us in February after we just had a wonderful winter in St. Louis. 3 weeks of snow on the ground, not my favorite. They paraded us around the school, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. They have an IKEA, and they're pretty close to the beach. I think both are pretty good schools. Let's go to Baylor. So that's how I ended up here. That was the essence of how I was making decisions up to that point. Sounded like a good idea. I wasn't asking too many questions. Then I was in graduate school, and a few years into it, I realized I don't know everything. That was a revelation. And I also realized I probably don't need to know everything. But I still didn't start asking the right people the right questions. After I graduated from Baylor, I did a couple years as a consultant and went back to get an MBA. And that was when it hit me. Leadership, mentorship, teamwork, the whole theoretical framework on how to build teams, how to get information, that it doesn't always have to be me doing it all, that I can draw from the knowledge base that other people have. And of course, I, again, was going to go somewhere where nobody else that I knew had gone before. So I started joining a number of organizations for networking purposes. I went to their breakfast, started talking to people, and after I'd gone home, I sent emails to some of the people with whom I'd had wonderful talks. Hey, I really enjoyed talking to you this morning. I'm very interested in what you do. Would you have 15 or 20 minutes on your calendar to meet with me and tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are, and what makes you successful at what you do? If you send 10 of those emails, lots of people are going to respond to you. I did about 5 or 6 different informational interviews and really started trying to understand not so much what I needed to do, but where I needed to get to. Because nobody is going to be able to walk the path at the time that I'm walking it, right? They've done all of this 10, 20 years ago. But I needed to understand where did I need to be, where do I needed to be. And then I got the opportunity to do a fellowship. And that was probably the most revealing time in my life. I spent a lot of time with very influential people, with people who really knew what they were doing. They were running great departments, a great organization, and I realized they were all very, very different. There wasn't a mold that you needed to fit in order to be successful. There wasn't a mold that you needed to fit in to be a leader. There wasn't a mold that you needed to fit in to do anything, really. It was okay to be the way you are, but there was one thing that they all did. They all had a lot of resilience. And resilience, I tell you, I do have that. So that was really the point in time when I started taking a lot more advantage of it. Well, not so much tell me what I should do, but how do you think about these problems? How do you go about building a team? How have you made it here? And it was really that time frame, and it wasn't too long ago, when I really started learning from others. Up until that point, I had essentially reinvented the wheel for every vehicle I wanted to drive, right? Just do it all over. And I started realizing that I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just have to be able to use whatever wheel other people had already invented, put it on my vehicle to get to where I want to go. And so that's kind of what I want to leave you with. If you are going to places where you've never been before, where you don't know where you're going, where you don't know what you need, go ahead and draw upon the resources of other people. They've done this walk, they've gotten there before, and they kind of know what it takes to be successful. But don't ask them what you should do. Ask them what they have done, and you're probably going to come up with very different answers, and what you're going to have to do is figure out which ones of these different pathways is going to work for you, which ones of these different frameworks, thought processes is going to get you and work with who you are, because we are all very different. I mean, I did a lot of analyses about, okay, these are my strengths, this is what's really, what I can use to be successful at whatever I want to do, and there are a few weaknesses I need to be working on. That is really what you what one needs to be doing in order to go somewhere where you haven't gone before. And so if somebody does ask you to be a mentor and tell you a little bit about it, make sure you tell them what you did, not tell them what they need to be doing, because they're not you. They're doing it at a very different time than you're doing it, and they're very different people. That's all I wanted to leave you with. It is not a recipe on mentorship, but I certainly hope it's somewhat helpful in any event. Thank you.